Hello, and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. As usual, I'm recording on a Monday afternoon. It's like, I always say afternoon because it's so light out, but it's like almost 5:30. But it stays light really long. I'm still not used to that. Like, I know that you just get used to it after a while, but like, I don't know, it takes me forever. I never record with glasses. I don't know why I'm wearing these. Sorry. I realized I just mumbled already. I'm trying to do better about not doing that, but it's very hard for me because of who I am as a person, apparently. So, it's Monday. Yeah, I'm very tired. It's like one of those weeks where I don't think didn't have like a really insane weekend. Just kind of normal. Had a run, went to an event on Saturday, sang church yesterday, had a nice, crafty afternoon with a friend. Was not that strenuous, but this morning I woke up before my alarm, so it was light. My alarm always goes off at 6:30, and it was light outside, and I was like, okay, well, it's sunny, that's nice. I looked at my watch, it was like 6:20. I usually get up my alarm goes off at 6:30, like I said, but I'm usually awake and usually up and moving actually before that. It's just like an emergency. If I happen to wake up at 5:30 or 5 and go back to sleep and sleep all the way till 6:30, the alarm will wake me up. But yeah, I was like awake, but I was in my bed and I was like, I am so tired. So tired. Like, I just want to stay here for like 2 more hours. Like, sleeping, I don't know. Just wanted to stay in the bed for like 2 more hours. I was like, I can't. But to combat that, I just got up. I was like, okay, well, if this is the way I'm feeling, the only way to be productive is by getting out of bed. So I got up. I usually will unless it's really hot, I'll putter around until 7:30 and then I go for a run. So I was just taking off my socks because I realized my feet were very warm. But it wasn't hot today. It was cold. It was 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. That's pretty cold. But yeah, which is not bad for running, actually. That's kind of preferable for me. But I was just sometimes I feel this way on a Thursday after I've run for 3 days already, and then I get up on Thursdays to go run again and I'm like, oh. But I didn't feel that last Thursday, but I sure felt it this morning, which is annoying because I had a rest day yesterday and Friday. But whatever. Now I'm technically in taper time, I think. You don't taper for a half marathon, but it's you definitely have to cut back for the 2 weeks. My race is 2 weeks from yesterday. So in Frederick, I will be running a half marathon, which is a long way. A long way. I finished this top. This is called the June top, and the neckline is kind of wide. It doesn't, yeah, you'd probably have to pin it in place, which you could totally do to get it to cover your bra straps properly. This is a tank top by Petite Knits. I like this top a lot. I've made this in hand spun and I like that one better. This one, the gauge is really loose. I did it in one skein of sock yarn, but it's quite cropped. I've been working on this. I started it last summer or something, or last fall maybe, but I finished it in the fall sometime, and then I finished the body of the thing and secured the straps and everything, but then there's an I-cord border, and I did the neckline at some point in the winter, and then I just decided I didn't care about it. But the other day I was just I feel like I should finish some of these really old whips. I put like I said last week, I put a whiteboard on my wall, and so I wrote down all the whips that were lingering. I have an active whips and a lingering whips section of the whiteboard, and I decided I should, sorry, I was just eating some trail mix. I decided I should finish some of the lingering whips, so I finished this. Yeah. I guess I could try to finish one a week or something. I don't know how many. There's a couple of, yeah, I probably could do that because there's another pair of mittens that just needs the thumbs of the Norwegian mittens. And then there's another pair of mittens that are just white. And they're very simple and I could easily finish them in a week. But yeah, I also forget, it's like a pair of white mittens and I was going to embroider on it, and I forget if I did the cuff of the first mitten on a smaller needle or not, and it doesn't really matter that much, it's just a cuff, but I'm kind of like, ugh. Should I, like when I knit the second one, should I size down? Maybe I should just rip it out and knit it again. But it's like really nice, it's like merino and cashmere, and it'll get like really fluffy if I rip it out and like re-knit it, so that's annoying. But yeah. Okay, but it was a great week. I released my Natalie cowl. This is all done now. I finally finished it and I grafted it. So this is my Natalie cowl. It's named after my grandmother, whose name is Natalie. And if you buy the pattern from the Woolly Thistle, she's the model, my grandma. She looks very beautiful wearing it. So this is just it's a Fair Isle Mobius twist cowl. I put a video on my channel about how to like close it, like how to seam it properly. So if you don't know and you're like confused, you can watch that video. But yeah, you can buy this from the Woolly Thistle in kit form only for a month. Then you can get it on Ravelry, but you can't get it on Ravelry for a whole month. So go get it from the Woolly Thistle. Although I put together 4 color combinations, and they kitted it up, and all of them are sold out except the pink one today. I checked, and the purple, the blue, and the green were all sold out. So that's good. Very exciting. I can't wait to see what they look like. I like made the combinations based on, you know, approximations essentially of, you know, like what shades did I use and what would translate to like purple and a deeper blue. I guess I could have done this, but anyway, the teal version. This is in the pattern. You can see what the colors are. You need 2 balls of 4 of the colors and 1 ball of the other 4 colors. So that's fun. Yeah, but I'm excited for people. I'm glad people are into it. It's very exciting. So yeah, you can get it on Ravelry in like a month, but not till then. So get it from the Woolly Thistle. I have an affiliate link. It's up there. You can use it. If you click that link, that will take you to the Woolly Thistle, and then it will like apply the code that's my affiliate link. I just get a small kickback if you use it, so that's helpful to me. Supports my channel. Yay. Not that I like anticipate making a lot of money from this channel from talking to people about knitting, but it does help. It helps me be able to keep showing up every week. So that's really nice, and lots of you use it, so I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, so you can get the Natalie cowl. I'll put another thing up there so you can see. You can get it using that button. It's also in the description box. My affiliate link, etc. It's all in the description box. So yeah, but it was a good week. I also decided at some point that I really needed to knit a hat with some hand spun. And so that was an interesting urge that I followed. It was like Thursday, and I was like, I need to knit a hat with hand spun today. So I cast on while I was distracted by something like TV or whatever, and I'm just cutting off the ends. And so I cast on the wrong number of stitches. I knitted the classic ribbed hat from Purl Soho, which is a really nice pattern, and it's free. And there's a link to it in the description box. The classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho. You do not have to use Purl Soho's yarn. It's just like a pattern for like worsted weight yarn, but you can pretty much use any weight. And it's sized from like little baby to like adult, like large adult. So this is what it looks like. And because it's ribbed, it's really well fitting. Like it just kind of, you could probably put this on a variety of head sizes and it would fit them. You can knit it as long as you want. I like the gradient. A lot of people said they liked the gradient, and I was like, yeah, that's why I knitted it in hand spun. It was just like very satisfying. I did all of it. No, I finished it on Friday morning. I was gonna say I knitted the whole thing on Thursday. I pretty much did. But because it went so fast, I used a size 4 needle, I think, for this. It's like, this is a hand spun Falkland wool. It did not specify when I got it from a club. I got it from Hello Yarn, I think. And most Falkland bumps of fiber won't specify if it's merino or Polworth or Corriedale. My guess is this is Corriedale based on the way that it feels. It's not soft like Polworth or merino. Maybe it's a blend. I don't know. But those are the 3 breeds of sheep that you can find on the Falklands. Maybe it's like a mule. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what Falkland wool is. If you get wool that says Falkland, that's not a breed. That's 3 breeds. It's one of 3, or maybe it's a mix, but it's one of 3 breeds. Okay. Yeah, so I did that, and then I liked it so much that I immediately casted on another one using the correct number of stitches with some more hand spun that I had just kind of hanging around. So this is like a bluish, pinkish. I know this is Cheviot, and I spun this very early. I spun this on Monica's wheel, Gertrude. Oh, she's over there. You can't see her. I used to drink seltzers on like every single one of these. They should sponsor me. Spindrift, if you're watching. I get Spindrift at Costco, but I've stopped, I guess. But yeah, this is what the cake looks like. This I got at my very first, it was my first Rhinebeck, yeah, a couple years ago in 2022 when I got my matchless. I got this bump of, it was braid, I guess it was a braid of fiber. Funky colors. Mostly blue. There's a little bit of pinkish in there. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. It's just gonna be, yeah. I just figured like this is a nice thing to do. It takes a day, literally, for me. I mean, it's like a nice little palette cleanser. It's great travel knitting. I don't need the pattern. I mean, if you need it, it's online, but like until I get to the decreases, I definitely don't need a pattern. Once I get to the decreases, I guess I could look to check. Although I'm sure if I knit like 3 or 4 of them, I'll have that memorized too. Super, yeah, just, I think it's cute. I mean, it's, yeah, I would just give these to people who wear beanies. I think it looks, excuse me, fashionable. Sorry, my allergies are really bad. This is a constant problem in Maryland in the month of April. I'm trying to flush some of it down with this. I was just outside walking from my office to my car and then from my car to my house. So apparently that was enough for the pollen to try and kill me. Yeah. But I really like this, the classic ribbed hat. If you just have like, I don't know how much it weighs. I should have brought my scale up here. It's probably a little over 50 grams. But yeah, if you have like a skein of worsted weight yarn, DK weight yarn, probably even sport weight yarn, you could knit this and just have a cute little hat. And it's, like I said, it's well fitting and flattering. So as you can see, it really fits. It does. It doesn't feel like it's slipping. You can fold the brim up higher for somebody with a smaller head, or like lower. You could make the whole hat longer if you wanted a thicker brim. Like, there's lots of good options for this hat. So I will be making more of these. Probably a lot more of them. Anyway, yeah. So I make show notes now. And by that I mean, in this notebook, I write down what I'm going to say. So I'm like actually looking at this just to kind of keep me, excuse me, honest. And that way also, I usually do it like in the 2 or 3 days leading up to when I record. And then I can like, if I have it here, I can make sure that when I go sit down to record that I actually have everything and I don't have to like get up and go get stuff, which I usually have to do anyway, but whatever. Okay, yeah. So I think I'm finished with the yoke on this Guernsey. Famous last words. I think I laid it out. I went to my friend Monica's house the other night. Monica is my knitting friend. I talk about her all the time. And so I've decided that I really need to make sure that like every time I'm like, oh yeah, I went to Monica's. We do church music stuff together on Sundays. And also we knit together and she lives down the street. So we've been friends for like a zillion years. We've been friends since grad school. And she's also a knitter. So we were like knitting and making pierogies together on Friday night. And I, at her apartment, and I borrowed her, like, she was like, I was like, I don't know if this is long enough. So she went and got one of her husband's like Patagonia jackets or something and was like, here, you can like lay this sweater on top of that to see if it's long enough. And I think it's long enough. So yeah, I think the yoke is done. I've done like a neckline here, down here, and then I did a neck steek here. I did steeks just so I could keep working in the round because I didn't really want to do a texture pattern back and forth that was like in yarn this dark. Hard to read anyway, really hard to read if you're on the other side. If you're working on the other side, you'd have to like reference the pattern all the time and count. And I'm like, no, I like to look and see, and it's much easier if you're just doing it in the round. So I did it in the round. So I need to do some short row shaping, and that's on my list for tonight. I'm gonna do some short row shaping on this you know, section by section, basically up to the back neck. I'm going to do short row shaping on each section, all 4 sections. And then I'm going to cast off, or not cast off. I'm going to, well, probably put the back neck stitches on hold, like on waste yarn, like I've done with the front here. And then I will felt the steeks. And then I will close the shoulders with a 3 needle bind off on the inside. That's what I'm gonna do. I guess I could Kitchener them. Actually, Kitchener might just be, oh gosh, it might be faster. It's always, Kitchener is seamless, so that's nice. But yeah, I don't know. I should decide. Whatever. I will close it somehow. Then I will block it before I cut any steeks open or pick up any stitches for the armholes. I'm gonna block it. I always do that. It helps the stitches settle. It helps the steeks settle. It helps everything settle. Wool likes to be washed. It blooms. It wants to settle. So I always, if I have a steek, block whatever the piece is before I pick up any stitches. Even if it doesn't have a steek, if it just has like a button band that I have to pick up or stitches around an armhole, I block it. The stitches want to settle. So that is top tip. Block it first before you pick up any stitches. Like this, I blocked before I did any I-cord edges. And then I didn't do any I-cord edges for a very long time, so joke's on me. But yeah, so I will block this. When it's dry, I will pick up the stitches around each armhole. Then I will cut this. And I'll probably do the neckline first. I'll pick up the stitches for the neckline, then I'll snip the steek after it's needle felted to be secured. This is non-superwash wool, so you can needle felt the steeks. You can use a needle felting tool and a pad to do that. And then I will pick up, the sleeve stitch, arm side stitches around the armhole and on both sides. And then I'll cut the steeks open so that I can make sure that it, like, you can't really work in the round on a circular needle if you, like a 16-inch circular, if you don't cut the steeks open, because it's like, it lays like an oval, but if you cut the steeks open, it'll pop into a circle. That's just how physics works, apparently. So that's fun. I am glad to be done with that, and then I will probably still be working on it, like try to get through like an hour a day on it to just until the sleeves are done. I am excited that this will be finished. It has been, actually, I've really enjoyed the like daily practice of working on this. So I'm excited to like keep going with that. I was reading this book for work as like professional development called Willpower. It's a good book. I can link it in the show notes. Because I talk to students all the time about like, well, why am I not motivated? Like, where's the willpower? And it's great. Like, there's a lot of interesting information in it. Like willpower, a lot of research shows that it's kind of like a muscle. So it can be depleted if you use all of it. But like, there are a lot of things that can help you. Like if you take choice out of the equation, like if you make checklists for the next day and stuff, then the willpower is usually strong. Like you don't actually have to like decide what to do and do it. Like you just have to do whatever is like on the schedule for you. And I've talked about this before, like providing structure for yourself or other people if you're me. But I've also learned from this book that like, and just sort of general, like, you know, this is just stuff that is like obvious, that like priorities, it helps to have, I mean, you can have a lot of priorities and like values and stuff, but like if you're working on stuff, like having one priority makes you a lot more likely to get stuff done. So with knitting, the way that translates to knitting for me is that like I have a lot of projects on the needles, and often I would go by vibes. I'm just like, well, I feel like knitting this, and so I'm gonna knit this. But that does get stuff done if I want to knit it. But like stuff that's more difficult or like a bigger reach, it's like, for me, it's very fulfilling to like finish a big project, be like, dang, that was hard work. I finished it. Like I feel productive. But like my giant green cardigan that I knitted last year, I really needed accountability to kind of finish it. So I decided to do like a streak where I worked on it every day. And I could work on it for as much or as little time as I wanted every day, but I had to pick it up and knit like at least a row or whatever on it every day. And boy, did that work. You get really addicted to like checking it off and like having like the streak continue. And so it works really well. And so I found that with this sweater, the yarn, if I work too long with it, it will hurt my hands. So I really have to keep it to, I had to keep it to 4 rows. But if I did 4 rows a day, it was like, this takes like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And I'm so excited that it's done. You know, very like, I'm so excited to see the progress on it. You know, every day I was excited to like check that out. It was great. So, it really was like fulfilling, and it was like, I get to check this off. It's very motivating. So having like one project like that on my needles for me, like one reach project, that I'm like, I have to get to this every day. And then for the rest of my knitting time in that day or spinning time or whatever, I can do whatever I want. But like, I got to get, that's like a task that I have to get done. And then it's whatever from there. So that does help me. So if you're like looking for like a way to, I don't know, get stuff done, you might have too many projects on the needles. Like, just like foreground one at a time. Or if there's something that's like a reach, like or like you want to just kind of make it into a practice. Like, I want to learn how to knit socks. Okay, work for 15 minutes a day on your socks. Like, don't push it. It's good if you finish the daily practice and you're like, I could have done that more. But like, if you like keep going, you might burn out. And so like, stop. It's, you know, running training is like that too. It's like, you should always finish your long run feeling, or your easy runs feeling like you could run one more mile at least. And that's a good like headspace to be in. It's like, cause then you get excited to run again the next day. You're like, I'm not running to like complete exhaustion every day, because then I would burn out really fast and my body would be like, please stop. Your body would probably shut down and be like, no, I'm not doing this. So you run easy most of the time, like 80% of the time you do easy runs, because that way, your body builds up the strength, and you're not overtaxing it and all sorts of good things. So I like to, keep my knitting like that. Like, I don't want to work for 6 hours on something and be like, I hate this and I never want to see it again. I want to work for 40 minutes on it every day. And by the end of the month, I'm done with this yoke that felt like a huge lift. And it's like, wow, look at that progress. Again, I'm such a consistency person that like, that just works for me. But you could try that if like, you're like, why am I not getting through any projects? You just got to prioritize one. See if that happens. Anyway, so that's exciting. And when I kind of got to the end of that, I needed to like mental energy for the short rows that I didn't really have this weekend, because I went on a long run, went to an event, had church. I did like a crafty afternoon with a friend. I didn't want to like deal with short rows then because we were chatting, whatever. So on Saturday, I started this, I think I talked about this in the last episode, this green cardigan with the Cascade 220. So you can see it's a cardigan for somebody about my size. But yeah, I just like flew through the yoke on Saturday and Sunday, and that was fun. And it has just a simple little braid cable. Because it's not flanked with purl stitches, it doesn't pop out as much, but I think it's very simple, just like a nice little detail. The button bands will go on either side. Cascade 220 is satisfying to knit with. It does, Monica says it pills. She told me the other day, she was like, that looks really good, but the yarn pills. But I was like, great, that's not for me. But I love this color. It's called like fern or something. Yeah, it's really nice. I just am like, it's worsted weight yarn for me. Like I knit with a lot of fingering weight wool, so it goes very slowly. It grows slow. So when you knit with worsted weight, you're like, dang, this is flying. Wow. So yeah, this has been really addicting. And I think, again, I will block this when the body is done, because I would have to pick up the stitches along the button band. This has a steek as well. And then it will have sleeves. There is no written pattern for this. I'm using Jessie made Cozy Classic Raglan, which is just like an 18 stitches over 4 inches pullover. Also, don't judge me. There is a mistake in one of the cables on this side. Tina won't know. No one will know. It doesn't matter. But it's lucky. Mistakes are lucky. There are probably a couple mistakes. Like, I think I made the cable travel a little bit by accident, and then I got it back on track. But whatever. It doesn't matter. It's cute. And it's like, it's not a big deal. Yeah, Cozy Classic Raglan. I added a steek to the front. And then I just added these little braid cables down the sides. And I think that is good. It's simple, effective, nice little design. Yeah, I will not be publishing this pattern because I took the numbers from Jessie Made, but I think it's nice. And I encourage you to edit patterns if you see fit. And if you're not ready to edit patterns yet, keep knitting, because you'll be ready to edit patterns one day. Like, it took me years. like probably like 3 years of being a sweater knitter to be like, oh, I can modify a tiny bit of this pattern. Before that, I never would have done that. Like, oh, I can take the garter stitch panels out of the Flax Sweater by Tin Can Knits and knit it with plain sleeves. Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. And like adding short rows to patterns that don't have them, and like things like that. Like simple things like that that just make a sweater fit better. Like just knit more patterns. Try to knit a wide variety of patterns and you'll get to a point where you can modify them yourself and it will feel so good when you get there. So that's fun. Yeah. And the cowl that I was working on that I started with the John Arbon yarn, I did sort of like background that because I was like, okay, I was trying to do too much. I was trying to do the Guernsey every day and do a thing of the cowl every day. And it's like, yeah, that, like I said, there were 2 priorities and one of them had to shift. And I was like, okay, I'm going to foreground this Guernsey, like, cause I want to knit more stuff that's just like fun or whatever, clearly. So yeah, when I finish the Guernsey, the cowl is going to get done. I will do the, like, you work on this for an hour every day or whatever. And then once that's done, I will have another project to show you. But that's, yeah. A couple of other things. I've decided that this piece, which is sitting right here, this was a vanilla sweater that I started. Oh, something got caught in there. Oh, okay. This was a vanilla sweater that I started a few weeks ago with John Arbon yarn that I spun. And it was fine, but I just realized like it's too loose. Like I don't like it. The fabric is just too loose. So here we go, getting rid of this. I decided what I thought it should be. Because I was like, well, I don't think I have enough to knit a whole sweater if I knit it at a tighter gauge. I just don't. That's fine. Whatever. I do have enough to knit like a t-shirt or something. I'll have tons left over. I don't know what I'll do with the rest, but I've always wanted to knit the Natalie tee by Caitlin Hunter. I've had the pattern for years. I don't want to knit it as written. Again, modifying patterns. I want it to be a top-down raglan. I don't like those weird little sleeves. I'm sure it would look fine on, but I'm like, I don't want to knit the yoke back and forth. I'm not interested in that. I want it to be a top-down raglan because it will fit. So I'm going to knit it from the top down as a raglan. As like a raglan yoke. It's tighter than this, because this is a yarn that needs to be knitted at a fingering weight gauge, like 26 stitches over 4 inches, which is probably about the gauge of the Natalie tee, and not like 20 stitches over 4 inches. It will be a happier sweater. It won't be as open. It will settle properly. Sometimes you have to knit yarn to the gauge it wants to be knitted at. That's just how knitting works. I find that they're like, you can wrangle yarn into a lot of shapes, but you might not like the finished product based on the openness, the tightness, that drape, whatever. You gotta find the right gauge for a yarn. It's very important. This is John Arbon Appledore. I spun this from top. I can link John Arbon Appledore in the show notes. They have a lace weight and a DK weight as yarn, and you can also get the top, which is what I did. This is Spicy Pippin, and this is Hanging Down. There's also another like more tennis ball green called Golden Knob that's like yellowy green, and so those 3 make it like a nice gradient, but I just have these 2 and I like the way they look together. So I'm gonna do this as like this color as the main color of the Natalie, and then it has this big colorwork band on the bottom, and I'll do like a lighter color, some kind of like I don't know if I have a hand spun that I'll use or if I'll just use like some leftover sock yarn just for fun, because you can do whatever you want in color work, who cares. And then I have some like white sock yarn that has like dark green speckles that I knitted a pair of socks in earlier this year, and I'm like, I feel like that would look really cool. It'd be very different. And if I hate it, like if I don't think it works with the hand spun because one's superwash and one's not, whatever, I will just rip it out and start with a different, like I'll use a different color, or maybe I'll even spin something, whatever, doesn't matter. But anyway, I just thought that would be more fun, and I'm like, I think I'll wear that and that will fill a gap in my wardrobe. And I would like to knit that kind of soon because it's now warm, and this is the Natalie t-shirt is like a summery piece, so I'm excited for that. I think that'll be fun. Yeah. Okay, so lots of good fun stuff happening. Other things that are like on my list and stuff, but like for now I feel good about this. So I finished this Romney spin. I had this white pencil roving that was Romney that I think I got at Rhinebeck in 2022. This is so soft. I spun this woolen because I have the Ashford trad. It's right there. Felicity. And it's really good for woolen spinning. So I spun this woolen and I spun it pretty thin. I don't know how many yards it is. I don't know how much it weighs, but my goal was to get this, like, once I started spinning it, I realized the singles were really fine, and I was like, oh, I could probably knit that with Shetland. So I think I'm gonna knit something with this, with my Shetland jumper weight scraps. Like, I don't know, like a pair of, I don't know, a cowl or a pair of mittens or a hat or something, like accessories. Maybe a set, like a hat and like fingerless mitts. That's color work with my Shetland scraps. I'm so excited about that. Not imminently, but I'm like, it's so soft. I'm like, oh, like I said last week with the Coopworth differences, like this is what this was supposed to be. And I've used this Romney because I dyed a bunch of it. I had a lot of it. There's probably like 8 ounces of it, and I dyed random scraps of it, and I still have some of it, and I've used that in combo spins before, and I'm like, it's so lumpy, it's so annoying, like it's hard to spin worsted. And then I spun it woolen and I was like, oh, I get it. So that was fun, and I'm glad that I learned that. But then I did try to spin some other things woolen that did not want to be spun woolen. And it's interesting to like try, like I have this, I think it's Herdwick roving. You can see this. Oops, it's fine. Like this is really, it's quite hairy. It's got a lot of Kemp in it. Kemp is like the coarse fiber that sometimes is a different color. Here it's white. You can tell because it doesn't take dye the same way. I dyed all of this. There's several pieces here. There's like burgundy. There's this like darker bluish purple. There's this one. There's a green. Where's the green one? There it is. And there's a green. So it's like 3 different purples and there's this green. And it is very hairy. And I tried to spin it woolen and it just kept breaking and it was frustrating the heck out of me. And I was like, let me just like put my hand on it and see if that is better. And it was better. So, and it's fine on the wheel, on the Ashford trad. It's really hairy. So I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with it because it's super hairy. And it like, clearly you have to use it for like outerwear or something. I guess it could be color work, whatever. Who cares? Maybe I'll just do like a fun yoke or like a, God, I have so much hand spun and I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of it. But it's interesting to like make these combo spins and just be like, all right, well, here's this yarn that exists and someday I'll find a purpose like this. I didn't know what I was going to do with this because this yellow, it's like brown, gray, kind of a sea foam. I was like, well, I don't think I can use that in color work. It's not going to show up on white. And I don't know if I want it to show up against black or gray or brown. So I just figured I would wait until I figured it needed it. And it told me that it needed to be this hat eventually. And then I knitted it. I love it. So that's what I do. Sometimes, again, I sometimes use metaphors about yarn being alive. Like sometimes, like I just said, like you got to knit the yarn to the gauge it wants to be. It's not, I mean, it came off of a living creature, but it's not alive. But it's like, sometimes it has personality. And it's like you just wait till the creative part of your brain talks to you about what it needs to be. And so if I want to knit with a specific yarn, but I don't know what to do with it, I'll just put it where I can see it and touch it every day until it talks to me, until my brain says, oh, it needs to be that. And like I look through patterns and stuff and I just wait and I'm patient and usually it tells me. And if it doesn't, I'm like, okay, it's not this yarn's time. Eventually it will talk to me. Like that DK that I showed you last week that I'm gonna knit the pressed flowers in. I was like, it took me years. It took years for that yarn to talk to me, but it did. Yarn will always tell me what it wants to be. My brain will always figure it out eventually if I give it enough time. So patience is important with creativity. And one thing I've been thinking about the last week is that like I'm heading into taper and for this race and like it's not like a marathon taper. Like I'm not gonna not run. When you do a marathon taper, you taper significantly because your body is used to running like 20 miles and then all of a sudden you're running like 6 miles. But with the half taper, like I'm still going to run like 8 miles on a long run next weekend. But there is a taper. Like I'm going to run less mileage. Like I have a big interval session tomorrow and that's the last big run. Like, cause 8 miles after running 10, 13, 14 miles, some weekends, 8 miles is not that long. Like 8 miles is what I would normally run in an interval session. Just like in total, in sum, with all the intervals plus the warm up and cool down. So that's like fine, right? It doesn't feel like a big session. So But I've learned from this, like, again, from this book, Willpower, that like where we put our energy is finite. And so if I am tired a lot of the time because my body is tired from running, my brain probably doesn't have enough energy. I mean, literally, like we just need glucose for this at sometimes. My brain probably doesn't have enough energy to like power itself creatively, because like we have different pursuits that we have. Like I have a lot of hobbies. I have knitting, I have church music, and I have running as like non-work hobbies. I also like to cook and I like to spend time with people. So, but knitting, church music, and running are a big things that take up a lot of time in my life. So for a lot of my life, I guess, after college, the priority was always knitting. Like that was always the priority hobby. And when I moved here, so this is the third year, full year that I've lived in Baltimore. 2022, I didn't do church music. So, because Monica hadn't moved here yet. And I started doing that in January of 2023. So like in 2022, knitting was a huge priority for me. I knitted 45 pairs of socks. I had 96 finished objects at the end of 2022. That's obscene. That's an insane amount of knitting. Because I prioritized it. I really did. And I'm proud of that. That was cool. But because I started singing church music again professionally in 2023, when Monica was kind of getting into it at K Street down in DC, and she was like, I need you, please come sing on my payroll. And I was like, yes, great. Nepo hire. Not really, because we're not actually related, but I also am a professional, I promise. Church music takes up a lot of driving time because it's in DC. And because I was doing it at this level for the first time in a very long time since COVID had started, it took up a lot of space in my brain. Church music is my favorite thing to do. I love singing more than I love knitting. Nice. So you can in fact do it at the same time sometimes. I don't ever like bring knitting to choir practice, but in theory you could sing and knit at the same time. I love singing church music. I can't tell you why, I just love it. So everybody loves lots of stuff. Church music, singing church music has been my passion since I was a pretty small kid. I've always loved to sing in choirs, and specifically sacred music. I just love singing. If I'm in the car, I'm singing. If I'm walking around the house, usually I'm singing. Like if there's music on, I'm singing along, or I'm at least moving. So church music was a big priority last year. Once I got kind of a year under my belt there, it's like, okay, this is manageable. I know how this works. I got kind of back more seriously into running like last August-ish. But I'd been running at work on the treadmill all the time, doing base building, which I wasn't considering base building. I was just like, this is how I blow off steam at work. Like after the end of a day, or maybe in the middle of the afternoon, for half an hour, I go run on the treadmill just to wake my brain up so I don't fall asleep at my desk. And then I come back and I'm fresh for whatever I need to get done at the end of the day. But I started running outside again, and then got deeply into that. So that is a big priority for me now, because I'm trying to like figure out how much I want it to be part of my life. Like I'm going to run a marathon in November and decide if I want to do that more. And if I do, that's fine. It's just like, then you figure out, okay, this is how it's fitting into my life. And this is how I'm doing the dance of like this plus knitting and plus church music stuff, plus like, you know, work. I mean, you're figuring out the schedule, like how much time am I allotting for this? And I try to do that with my training already. Like, you know, I don't want to make it my whole life, but like if you train for a marathon, you're busy a lot of Saturday, 2 to 4 hours usually on your feet running, for most of that training block. So the nice thing about that is that like you want to come home and rest. You know, I have to like prioritize time to go grocery shopping and clean my house, because I already like can't do that on Sundays because of church, unless it's like a one service day, and then I can come back at like 2 p.m. and sometimes get some of that stuff done. But the nice thing about running a lot like that is that you end up having to sit to rest for a lot of the weekend after your long run. And so that's very conducive to knitting. But it might not be conducive to like, I want to design a bunch of stuff, because you're depleted, you're exhausted, you don't even want to use your brain. So that's gonna, you know, it will come in handy for me to like write a lot of patterns. And like for myself, if I want to write patterns, do it when you're not on, you know, this marathon training block, right? Like write the patterns and then execute them then, because it's done. That's all you have to do is execute. That's okay for me, because knitting is so second nature. It's just like, yeah, reading a pattern is not a big deal. It doesn't take up a lot of brain power, brain space, whatever. So what I'm getting at here is that like, I would like to use taper time as an excuse to like use my creative energy. So like make a point to like look through some pattern books and like, you know, watch YouTubers and like look at my hand spun and be like, I'm not putting this mental energy, because it does take mental energy too. Like running for a long time takes a lot of willpower, mental energy, whatever. It takes your glucose stores, etc. So I have those that I'm not using as much for the running right now because I'm tapering. And then it's like, oh, I should put that into this knitting and like being mindful about that. And like, you know, not scheduling marathon so that peak training is also the same time as Holy Week, for instance, like so that the running and the church music don't, you know, bash up against each other, things like that, like things that you learn. So like I'm gonna run my marathon in Philly in November before Advent starts, right before Advent starts, so that like I have the season of Advent where I'm not doing a marathon training block. In fact, I'm probably not running very much because I'm coming off of a marathon. So, you know, I say that as though I do this all the time. I've never run a marathon. So I'm excited to see what happens. Maybe I'll hate it, but maybe I'll love it and I'll want to keep doing it. Depends. But I'm interested to see, like this year, I'm giving a lot of mental energy to running and I'm knitting more simple stuff. Sometimes I design, obviously, like every month I design my socks, but I'm not like, you know, putting my whole brain into that the way that I really did in 2022. I'm kind of using the skills that I have, knitting patterns that other people have designed, things like that. Just like, you know, I'm trying to be a little bit more deliberate about the knitting, be like, well, what do I actually want to get out of this? Like, I have less time to do it, so I should get something productive out of it. You know what I mean? I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the vibes right now. I have been spending some nice time at the wheel the past couple weeks. Obviously, I am so happy about this, honestly. Like, and like roving is just so nice. It's not super easy to get it online or anything, so I'm excited to go to Sheep and Wool. Maryland Sheep and Wool is in, just under 2 weeks, the same weekend as my half marathon in Frederick. So I'll be at Maryland Sheep and Wool on Saturday, May 4th. Please say hi if you see me. And I plan to look for like roving like this so that I can practice more woolen spinning. I think spinning worsted too, but this was just really fun, very satisfying, and I am very pleased with the end product. Just like, it's soft and it's like, oh, I did what this wanted. It became what it wanted to be. Finally, I figured that out and I'm so happy about it. Like, I'm like, oh, it's so satisfying. Very, very, you know, it's nice. It's like you know, the sheep is happy, like somewhere up that its wool is happy, and the wool is in the form that it wanted to be in and not strangled into some kind of worsted spun nightmare. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of it. I didn't get a whole lot of reading done because I finished the book Remarkably Bright Creatures that I talked about last time. Didn't really get into Learwife because it was the Boston Marathon was last week. I was listening to a lot of recaps. The London Marathon just happened yesterday, so that's like, there's a lot of recaps of that this week, just like in the podcast world. But my mom got a bunch of Dickens novels on Audible for free, I think, and so I did pick David Copperfield back up because I had been reading that after I finished Demon Copperhead. I wanted to read David Copperfield because Demon Copperhead is based on David Copperfield. So I'm like halfway through David Copperfield. I just started reading it when I went to England last month. I just got back a month ago today. So yeah, a month ago. But I just stopped reading the physical book because it was Easter and I didn't have time to read, and it takes up a lot of brain power, like I said. So it's nice to have something that I can do while I read. Again, if it's going to be a priority to read, then I have to do something that's not taking up that mental space. So no designing, no like difficult stuff when I read. When I listen to books, I typically spin or I knit something kind of vanilla-y. So, because it takes more focus to listen to a book than it often does to watch TV. But I did start a murder show called Under the Bridge. It's on Hulu. It's about, I think it's a true story about a murder that took place in Victoria, BC in like 1997 or something. So I started that. I'm on episode 2. I think it's like a weekly, like they're gonna come out with them weekly, like new episodes. And so I think this is the last episode before I have to wait for another one. So that'll be fun. But yeah, fun stuff. If you're watching anything fun, let me know. Especially if it's like a mystery. I love a mystery. I love like a mystery miniseries, or like a limited series, like a 1 season kind of, 8 episodes, and they're trying to someone's solving a mystery. I enjoy that. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But yeah, so I'm gonna take off. I'm gonna make some bread. Jordan, my roommate, is cooking tonight. We eat dinner together like 3 or 4 nights a week, and we just switch off who cooks. And Jordan is making one of our old favorites, which is a chickpea. It's like baked chickpeas with, I'll put the recipe actually. It's in the comments. It's vegetarian, which is why we make it, because we have like lots of friends who are vegetarian. Neither of us are, but we have a lot of friends who are. So if we have like a dinner party or people over or whatever, we frequently make it. And it's like Kalamata olives, chickpeas, capers, like I think maybe onion, and you just bake it with like aluminum foil for a bit, and then you let it get in like a roasting pan, and then you can crumble feta on it, and serve it with rice. So it's vegan if you have no cheese with it. You can have like some red pepper flakes to make it, or like herbs de Provence or something. Good. And I frequently make it with a fougasse, which is like a French focaccia. It's like a focaccia, but it has holes. It looks like a wheat stalk. It's very pretty, and it's easy to make the holes, even though it looks kind of complicated. So I haven't made bread in a long time, but I really like making bread. So I'll put the recipes for both of those things in the comments so that you can make them too. Please share your favorite recipes with me. I love Food 52. My mom and I have always both loved Food 52 for recipes. Great place to find them. And yeah. I also like New York Times cooking a lot, so if you have favorite New York Times recipes, hit me with them. I can't eat seafood. I don't know if I've ever said that on my channel. I'm super allergic to seafood, so I can't eat that, but everything else I can eat. So that's fun. Yeah, so I'm gonna go make, the bread has been rising, so I'm gonna go shape it and bake it. Jordan came home, but she usually comes home on Mondays and then goes to the gym and then comes home and makes dinner. So we don't eat early. In our old house, we used to eat earlier, but now we eat like at 7:30, and then we like watch TV together. It's like we're watching Deadlock, because I already watched Deadlock, but then I wanted to watch it with her because I was like, you would love this, and she loves it, but we can only watch it when we're both home at the same time. So like 1 to 2 episodes a week. So we're excited to finish that. We're excited to finish that. So yeah, that's all. And as usual, I've talked for 48 minutes. This is like very standard amount of time. I feel good that I'm consistent, so that's good. Yeah, then I gotta go to bed early because I got a big interval session in the morning. It's my last big one. It's like an 8. Let's find out how many. No, don't start a run. Don't do that. Discard. Discard, no. Yes, I do not want 2-second run on Strava. Activity discarded. Okay, options. Workouts. There we go. 4:23 intervals. Oh, it's 9 miles. I lied. 9.1 miles of running. Oh, I must have done a 2-mile cool down, which is not necessary. Sometimes I just do a 1-mile cool down. No, just a 1-mile cool down. It's just going to be a 9-mile interval session. So I better go out really early because that's going to take like well over an hour. Can't wait. I actually really like running intervals. I run them on the track there's like it's not a real track. It's a kind of I've probably said this before. It's a very janky track down at the harbor. So it's windy, but it's right on the harbor. It's not a real track. It's paved with regular asphalt, and there's like a weird curve at one end, and it's not 400 meters. It's longer than 400 meters. But I can like leave my water bottle there, and I'm pretty sure it's safe. Like sometimes high school students come hang out nearby, but like usually it's just like people walking their dogs because they like the middle of the track is just like a dog park. It's awesome. So I've like run interval sessions not in that park, not on that track, and I hate them. I hate it. It's like very miserable for me. Like if there's any kind of elevation, I'm like, I don't want this. I'm here to run on a track. I was on the track team in high school. I have some kind of Stockholm syndrome with the track. I love it. Something about it, like it's very motivating for me. It's very easy for me to just like, oh, do one more. I don't need someone yelling at me. I have a watch that tells me that I've programmed myself to tell me what to do, and I just do it. And I'm like, this is great. I feel wonderful and amazing. And it's probably Stockholm syndrome, but I love to do intervals on that track. And I did when I ran the Baltimore half course last weekend for my long run, the first part of the run, you run to Patterson Park from near where I live, which is like 2 miles east of here. And Patterson Park has some hills, but there's also a track at Patterson Park. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, that'd be like a nice 2-mile warm up and 2-mile cool down if I ran to Patterson Park, did my interval session, then I ran back. But I was like, nah, I like my track. I'm very attached to my harbor track. So I'm good. Maybe if I really need to switch it up for marathon training, but yeah, maybe. But I doubt it. I like to stay on my own turf. So yeah, okay. And I just wasted another 3 minutes of your time. So thank you for watching. If you want to buy my Natalie cowl, go buy it from the Woolly Thistle. Otherwise, you can wait a month. They might have more in stock if they make more kits. I don't know. Maybe I'll just make like alternate colorways and be like, here's like 6 more colorways that you can sell if you want. Maybe I should make gray ones. That would be good. Like a monochrome with like, or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye!